What's up, everybody? Welcome to Getting Stoked. On this week's episode, we had the wonderful Zack Michael Hill, who is a good friend of mine going back a few years now. My old band, Phantom Party, played with his old band, Head Injuries, at the Nile Underground back in, 2015. I think it was it was an early show. It was it was one of our first shows ever. Really good time, really good dudes. Yeah, man, he's just great. He was recently in a band called Victim Culture. They're like a killer hardcore band. Just a really fun, goofy guy. Really enjoy hanging out with him. We always chill at his place up in Fort Collins whenever we're in town. So you're going to get a whole lot of Colorado love in this episode. And yeah, man, we just kind of talk about everything. He's a good dude. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, welcome everybody to the show. I have my buddy Zack with me today. Hello, Zack.
Hello, everybody.
I've known Zack for a hot minute. He used to play in a band called Head Injuries and Armed with Crayons, and which we have to talk about at some point because that's how a lot of people know you, whether you like it or not.
Fair enough. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and then they're from Colorado and they're wonderful. And anytime that I have told stories about how much I love Colorado and how badly I want to live there, that's all because of this guy right here. I've talked extensively on this show about Colorado, and it's all because you hooked us up.
Oh, yeah, dude. Anytime.
Yeah,
anytime.
So let's talk for a second about so now Armed with Crayons, was that your first band?
So technically, the first band me and my friends started was called Discovering Victory.
Okay.
And that was 6th grade to 8th grade, it was, we tried doing experimental pop punk, air quotes on that. And
what does that sound like? What are some influences on the experimental pop punk?
It was the beginning stages of Armed with Crayons. We would do Seosin-esque kind of songs, but then put techno beats and horns in them. we did some funky stuff, just kind of trying to find a sound, and then after a few years of, just playing youth group places and, cafes, just any, places that kids play shows, we started, kind of getting more stuff together. And then that's when we were like, oh, well, let's take this a little bit more serious. And so we got a few more people and changed the name to Armed with Crayons.
Let's get a little bit more serious.
Yeah, so we got more serious by becoming Armed with Crayons and writing easycore, yeah.
So that's crazy. I missed the easycore wave completely.
Really?
Yeah, completely. It went right over me. I didn't know anything about it until I started hanging out with Josh and them, and they were kind of not really in it anymore, but they definitely used to be.
Yeah.
So they would tell me stories about them and kind of what easycore was. Because I remember, I think, honestly, one of my first introductions to easycore was listening to their cover of Eminem's, where they were from of Blink-182, and then they put a fucking breakdown 3/4 of the way into it, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? This is ridiculous." And they were like,
"That's
dude,
exactly
easycore.
What easycore is. Easycore is making your music as ridiculous as possible, so people can just be rather they're extremely caught off guard or they're really into it. There's not much middle ground there.
Totally.
It's just a whole surprise factor of easycore.
Now, how long did you do that for?
Armed with Crayons started 2009, and we went until 2012. And Armed with Crayons never toured. We played in Colorado a handful of times, but the only reason people really knew us was because of those YouTube videos that they would make compilations of breakdowns. And I remember we recorded a demo, the first Armed with Crayons demo. Oh man, I'm trying to remember. It's been a long time. We had a song that had this really ridiculous breakdown. It had a piano roll to go into this breakdown, and it was it had this piano roll and then a group vocal chant that said "oh shit," and then it broke down. And I don't remember what the breakdown was, but I remember that seeing that video that somebody showed me that, oh yeah, dude, you guys got on this compilation, and after watching the video I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. And then I saw that it had 15,000 views.
Yeah.
And then all the all of our social media started blowing up. And then kids down in the Philippines started covering Armed with Crayons songs, and we were extremely surprised, but we didn't think of anything of it. We were high school kids just totally messing around. Like studio time for us was just like recess at school, you know, like we'd like somebody would be tracking, and when you're supposed to be in there writing and like focused, we'd be playing games out front and walking around and like getting drunk and stuff. Like, dude, like we never took anything serious. And I think that's what people like. I feel like that reflection of us not caring was what people really liked about it, because we didn't like, there was no genre, like really, like, you know, we did so many weird things, and like, and people liked that, I guess. And
now I'm assuming what happened next was you decided to take yourself seriously again, and the head injuries came from.
So the transition from Armed with Crayons to head injuries was like pretty bittersweet, in the sense that we like, you know, kicked out a few members of Armed with Crayons because they had like different interests, and like I said, like we never took the band seriously. And so when, you know, we started getting older, we were like, oh well, now, you know, we want to do different things. So it was me, Jared, and Jeremiah, who were like the main Armed with Crayons like group, who wrote the music. And so the other two, Wes and Alex, ended up leaving, and so we got somebody to come do bass for us on the last Armed with Crayons record, and then he bailed. So after that, we were just like, okay, now we're just a 3-piece, and we don't like playing easycore anymore. Like, we want to like do something else. And we were getting really into like the old school punk rock, like Screeching Weasel and you know, Ramones and Bad Brains and stuff.
Queers.
So Queers, oh yeah. And so we wanted to do stuff like that. And just so happened that the drummer of Teenage Bottle Rocket lived down the street from us.
Oh, shit.
And so Armed with Crayons played their final show at a very famous place, Surfside, in Fort Collins. And Brandon Carlisle of Teenage Bottle Rocket came and saw us without us knowing him. And he saw our set and came up to us and started talking to us. And we were all blown away, because he was like one of our favorite, you know, bands at the time. And then he actually kind of shaped us into the band that Head Injuries became. He actually named the band. He was in motorcycle class and saw the words Head Injuries on the board and thought that would be a cool name, and we couldn't figure out anything cooler. So Brandon, he played a show with Weezer in Chicago and told, I believe it was the bassist who passed away, like 2 days after he talked to him.
The Weezer bassist?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It was the bassist or one of the guitarists. He passed away.
Wow, I didn't know that any of the members of Weezer passed away.
He actually predicted his death. It was crazy, dude.
Really?
But since that story happened, and he told us that he told us that he told that dude that we were Head Injuries without us deciding that the band was called Head Injuries. So we kind of rolled with it, you know, and that's when we started really, we took out the breakdowns of Armed with Crayons. We took out a lot of the stuff that people really liked Armed with Crayons for and changed the name. So it really killed the internet presence, but that's when we started touring a lot and taking it seriously, as in like finding actual studios to go record in, and, you know, like doing the like the whole DIY band stuff instead of just high school kids doing breakdowns.
Bill Stevenson lives up there, right?
Yeah, the whole blasting room experience is up there. Actually, Head Injuries' last album was recorded at the blasting room, and we shared the studio with A Day to Remember, because they were in there doing demos for whatever their last album was. I'm not a huge fan of them.
Yeah, me either.
Not that I don't think they suck. They're really nice people, but just the music is...
That's crazy. I didn't know. So did Bill record you guys, or was it just his studio?
No, so we actually tracked... The last Head Injuries album was tracked with Andrew Berlin. He's one of the engineers there, and he did a lot of like the No Use for a Name stuff, and Jason Livermore mixed us, and that's who did the Atari's record, the Blue Skies record. So we were like extremely fangirling over these producers and the engineers and stuff. But Bill Stevenson, he edited a few of our drum tracks and like kind of had a say in how things were mixed and mastered. But other than that, he kind of just popped in and hung out for a second and kind of just cleaned up and talked a lot about coffee, you know, like doing his thing, you know, like the coffee at the blasting room is ridiculous. Like he has it imported from somewhere, and it's like it's so caffeinated that like, and then they make it into quote unquote bullet coffee, which is where you just stir in and like fluff up this like butter inside the coffee, and it makes it like more potent. And so we drink it at like 1 a.m. We were there like doing vocals for like an entire night once, and Andrew Berlin recommended the bullet coffee, and yeah, dude, it was a whole nother drug, and it was just coffee, but like, dude, it kept us up all night.
Holy shit!
Like the experience at Blasting Room is very, like, you should know what you're expecting because of just who the Descendants are, and it's just coffee, joking around, and really hard work. So
yeah, that's punk rock. That's what it really should be right there.
Exactly. Yeah, and Fort Collins, like, the music scene is really tight, like wrapped around the Blasting Room, and everybody wants to go in there. Everyone wants to work with Bill, and a lot of people get to because Bill, he's extremely friendly. He goes out all the time. Like, you'll see him around, and if you approach him, like, he's extremely sweet about it. He can be short sometimes because he's always busy, but it's not like he's gonna ignore anybody, and it's really cool because like the whole like Blasting Room family, like, it's just crazy that they're like neighbors to us.
Colorado is a weird place because there's not a whole lot of venues up there, but it has a presence, like, for sure, as far as music goes.
Yeah, it's a problem too because I book shows there, and like we'll have. Like Surfside's been there since I think it was like 96 or 95. It's been there for a while, and then we have like our bigger venues where mostly it's like EDM shows, and like that's like we have this place called the Aggie Theater where Jimmy Eat World played, and like like kind of bands like that, and then we have a few like side venues, but it's very common for a venue to open up and close down in a few months, and I think that has a lot to do with underage drinking, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's no all-age venues. Like,
that sucks.
Yeah, because when one all-age venue pops up, they get in trouble for underage drinking, so that's when everybody stops doing all-ages shows, but people over 21 have shit to do, like. So it's hard to get people out to shows in Fort Collins, and that's why venues don't really do so well.
There are like 2 or 3 all ages venues out here, and they've kind of stayed around for quite a while because of that, because there's not that many other all ages venues, and they're pretty good about. Luckily, people here are super for the most part, they're really respectful about that kind of stuff. Like, the only time I see people bring alcohol in, because the venue that her and I hang out at and kind of work at is an all ages spot, and you'll see stuff every once in a while. Usually it's like hip hop shows where I usually see a lot of people drinking, and I just have to walk around and tell everybody to go outside. Yeah. But like, they're pretty good about it out here. Does everybody just go and play in Denver?
Kind of, I guess. Like Denver's got one of the best DIY venues I've ever seen in my life. Seventh Circle, correct. Yeah. So Seventh Circle is ran by one of the sweetest dudes on the planet, Aaron Say. And he, it used to be called the Blastomat, and it was like kind of like a grindcore scene, and it was very cliquey. People didn't like going there as much, and then when Aaron Say bought it, he made it this extremely welcoming place, and he reamped the stage, and he bought all the stuff for the PA system, and it's like this extremely underground punk-looking venue, but it doesn't have like that, like fuck you attitude. It's like everybody's welcome, and like as long as you're not an asshole, like you're going to be completely fine. And then bands playing there, it sounds incredible. Shows go off. You can drink there. It's BYOB, but then like they're really good about the underage drinking. But that's like one of the only venues that I personally like to play, because when you start dabbling into the like the bigger booking companies and like getting into like bigger rooms, like we have the Summit where like 4 Years Strong and Comeback the Kid played. That was a great show. And then they have like the Marquee, like these are like mid-size rooms, like 700,000 people.
I'm going to the Marquee in October.
Oh, to see who?
I'm going to see Amigo the Devil and Harley Poe. They're 2 like horror folk, like murder folk kind of. It's like horror movies and true crime through song kind of deal. They're like 2 of my favorite musicians on the planet. Harley Poe hasn't toured fucking, I don't know if he ever even has, as Harley Poe. He used to be in this really weird band called Calibretto 13. They would kind of tour, but he hasn't toured. He's from Illinois, and he never, ever, ever tours, and his music has kind of been not really doing anything for a while. Yeah. And Amigo the Devil, on the other hand, we see all the time, and we kind of became friends with him because we're huge fans of his music. At least he has like a tattoo of his and stuff, and we're like really obsessed with this guy. Yeah. And his song, like, now Harley Poe is a little bit more horror movie kind of monster stuff, and Amigo the Devil is like really beautiful, well-written, brilliant songs from like a true crime perspective, from like the murderer point of view kind of deal. Really good shit.
That sounds so rad.
These are these two artists who have never played together, they've never met or anything like that. And people, it's always been like a dream, because people who are into that kind of music know both of them, because there's not that much music in that vein.
Right.
So those are kind of like your two heavy hitters. And so after years and years of everybody like talking about it behind closed doors and wanting it to happen, they're playing a show together, and they're playing it in Denver.
Oh wow!
Just one.
Just in Denver?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why you'll go up there for that?
Yeah. So Halloween night. We're coming up to Denver.
That's Halloween night?
Yeah. We'll probably end up hanging out with you guys.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
staying
No,
with you or
you
something
have
like
to.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a slight chance that I might be moving down here actually pretty soon.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, for, education.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
regardless, yeah, I'm gonna be up in Denver and on a Halloween. It's gonna be fucking wild. I cannot
Dude,
wait.
that sounds incredible.
I haven't been to the Marquee. I've never been to any venue really in Denver.
They're okay. You know,
Yeah.
like it's like I was saying, it's really like the booking like companies, they're kind of hard to deal with, especially being local bands. It's the whole vicious cycle of, sell a lot of tickets, don't get paid, and work your ass off for playing first in front of nobody kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean that's how it is here too with the bigger rooms.
Right. Like, I mean, that's just the way those shows run.
Sliding scale, ticket pay.
Yeah.
Shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that I personally avoid. But when my friends' bands, like my friend's band, Plasma Canvas, they are a two-piece, like, badass rock and roll group, and they played this venue called the Mishawaka. It's just north of Fort Collins in the middle of nowhere in the woods.
Oh yeah, that is the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
just north of Fort Collins.
Yeah, it's really cool though. But they played that show with the Descendants in front of Kevin Lyman, and it was like a kind of a, not like a battle of the bands, but Kevin Lyman was there to see what bands were playing with the Descendants that could open for, or like do Warped Tour, the final Warped Tour. And Plasma Canvas and my other friend's band, Bitter Sons, both just killed it at that show. So Plasma Canvas ended up playing Warped Tour, and then they actually played Warped Tour St. Louis too, because Kevin Lyman loved them so much.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but they're a band that they will take any opportunity they can. Like when it comes to shows, they work their asses off. Like, those are the kind of, like, that's the kind of like shows that I respect when it comes to, if you have to sell tickets, there's like really good opportunity to come from it. Mm-hmm. But like, again, personally, I would rather play like a DIY spot in front of like people who want to hear me or play just like smaller venues. Like that's kind of more the vibe that I like. I wouldn't mind playing with like a band that I really love, but if it's like requiring like, oh, like you have to sell like 100 tickets, and it's like I don't even know 100 people. Like,
yeah,
give me a break.
If you end up moving down here, the scene in Phoenix is ridiculously supportive, and it's ridiculously huge. So like,
Perfect.
It's not so big that it's LA where you can have 1 million listens and still nobody knows who you are. That's
right.
how it is in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Now out here, it's not like that. Out here, everyone knows everybody, and it's still really big, and there's so many bands, and there's like 20-something plus venues that you can play at any given time. And the size of the venues varies a lot. Like we have a lot of really small DIY spots like 51 West or Trunk Space, but we also have places like Rebel Lounge, which is like, I don't know, like a 200, 300 cap room, and it's a bar. It's ridiculously Psycho Steve is the name of the dude that owns it, and he puts on shows, like really huge shows at other venues too. Like I just went and saw Front Bottoms. It was one of his shows that he threw and stuff like that.
Rad.
But he owns Rebel Lounge, and that's where bands like I just saw Dan Andriano play there acoustic. Like
nice.
It's stuff like that.
That's so rad.
It's perfect for stuff that size. Where,
right.
Like it was him and Matt Pryor from Get Up Kids. They
yeah,
came together.
What?
Yeah, they came together.
Whoa, dude.
They did.
I'm jealous.
So Matt Pryor did a set, and then Dan did a set, and then they did like 3 songs together.
That's so
Yeah.
sick.
So, but
Damn.
it's perfect for shows like that. Like 300,
Yeah.
it's like 300 to 500 cap, really small, really intimate. The stage is only like a foot and a half high, and
Wow.
you can really get up close and personal. And I've seen some fucking baller shows there. So
Yeah.
that's the cool thing about Phoenix is that's the majority of the venues that we have here are like 3 to 400 cap, like 3 to 500 cap.
Which is perfect.
Yes.
You know, you don't need a lot of giant venues, which is
We have like 2 or 3 giant that aren't stadiums. We've got like 2 or 3 like 12 to 1400 cap.
yeah. Okay. See, then
Yeah.
that's good. Like, you know, in Denver they have like these huge rooms. You know, like really really big rooms, and we get like big acts that come through. But like when a big act comes through, like if you're talking like Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber status,
Yeah.
they'll play Pepsi Center, the First Bank Center, or Fiddler's Green, and Fiddler's Green's like kind of like. That's more like Offspring, Paramore like status, but those are like the 3 like stadium venues, and then you have like the venues that I was talking about. But the problem is, a lot of bands love to skip Denver because it's kind of a bitch to go from, you know, anywhere on the coast, like north or south, and then go into the middle of the country, and then keep going somewhere else. You know, people love to loop. Like I'm sure Phoenix gets a lot more bigger acts because you can go from Texas to Phoenix to California.
We
you
get
know?
pretty much most tours people come to Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, but like in Denver, it's not like there's not a use for those big venues, but like it makes it really hard for like the local bands because they expect so much from them. I mean, this is coming from my personal experiences,
Yeah, of course.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure other bands have had better experiences, and I'm not really talking down on these venues.
Lumineers.
The Lumineers. Well, so the Lumineers actually, the guy who started Lumineers was from the Fray, which is
really?
yeah, which is I think the Fray or One Republic is the biggest band to ever come out of Colorado. It's one of the two.
Damn.
So Lumineers might have even passed the Fray because Lumineers, like that first album, I liked that album.
I did too.
Yeah, it's
I did
great.
too.
And I remember being on a Head Injuries tour in Portland, and this is like a week after the album came out, and like they're playing like all their songs in this like Dunkin' Donuts at Portland in Portland, and I was like so blown away because like I thought it was a local band, but then I found out it was the dude from the Fray, so everyone's like all stoked on it, like oh this is way better than the Fray.
Yeah, that's a great record. That Submarine song is fucking badass. So I'm trying to think of the biggest bands from Phoenix, like Jimmy Eat World.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one that I know is from Phoenix.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like Chester Bennington was from here, but that doesn't really count.
They were technically from California, aren't
Yeah,
they?
they were technically from California.
Yeah.
He had like a talent coach, or he had like a manager who hooked him up, and he went out there, so that doesn't really count. Andrew Jackson Jihad is another like huge hometown favorite, like in the indie scene.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, I guess Jimmy Eat World. I know there's some that I'm probably forgetting, but Gin Blossoms.
Oh,
Gin Blossoms
yeah.
are from here. But and then there's
I
like,
think that's probably the biggest band from here.
Yeah.
They had a really, really good run.
yeah, Gin Blossoms and like Roger Klein and the Pacemakers and stuff. There's like a few of the older guys that were in bands that are from here.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I would probably say Jimmy Eat World. There's a band called Dead, D-E-D, who is like blowing the fuck up right now, and they're from
I've
here.
heard of them, yeah.
They've got like tens of millions of listens on all their shit on Spotify and stuff. It's like, I don't like nu metal, and that's what it is. Technically,
Okay.
it's kind of like nu metal.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, because there was a legitimate reason why nu metal blew up. Like, it was kind of a new thing, and it was kind of cool, and a lot of those early records from those nu metal bands were cool. Like, so the early Korn
yeah.
shit was pretty good, and the early Slipknot stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
everyone, it was those first few records from a lot of those bands, like when you take away the annoyance from the radio and when you take away the annoyance of what it kind of became, that shit was fucking rad. Like, it went really hard, especially
dude.
when you're like in junior high.
Yeah, like everybody likes Slipknot. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if you don't like Slipknot, you probably don't know Slipknot.
Yeah,
Like, that's
exactly.
kind of like the rule with them.
Exactly. So what Dead is doing is there's like this weird nu metal resurgence that's starting to bubble up, like very quietly.
Oh, yeah.
It's starting to come back.
Yeah.
And Dead, in my opinion, they only have one album out so far, but they took all of the shit that made nu metal annoying and got rid of it, and then just made all of the shit that made you like it in the first place, and they just amped it way up.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it's the first time I've ever listened to an album in that genre and been like, this is fucking badass. I
Oh,
was like
dude.
cranking it.
I gotta check that out because I've been actually on my drive down here from Fort Collins. Hey, you have a Dead sticker right there.
Yeah.
But on the drive, I listened to my 50s playlist, which is like, like Elvis and Buddy Holly, Patsy Cline, Richie Valens, stuff like that, which is like 7 hours of music. And I listened to all of that. And then I was kind of like, driving through the south end of Utah being like, man, what do I want to listen to now? And then I remember my friend mentioned a band called Vane.
Oh, yeah, they have their new album. Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let's check it out. And I put it on. I listened to the entire thing over and over and over. Like, I think it was 3 hours of listening to a 25-minute record.
Yeah,
like,
it's short.
Yeah, it's really short, and it's incredible. But, yeah, dude, it just reminded me so much of, like, Slipknot. And then, like, you added, like, more of, like, the modern, like, beatdown.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a huge fan of beatdown. Like, not even at all, to be honest.
What is beatdown, like, Code Orange?
Code Orange, Knocked Loose, like, those kind of bands, like for me, like I need more than just breakdowns in a song. So when I heard this Vane record, it had like the really cool breakdowns, like these beatdown bands do, like the part that people like, and then it had like this really flavorful like, just like kind of like a Dillinger Escape Plan kind of like chaotic
really colorful
thing.
And chaotic.
Yeah. But it's like it's.
Yeah, I heard
it's
that.
Hard
record.
to explain.
That record's fucking awesome, dude.
It's
wild as fuck. Like I was the hype for that was real too. I saw that thing everywhere before it came out. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't even know who they were. I just kept seeing the album cover being like popping up in publications and stuff like that. So I was super excited to check it out, and I love the fuck out of it. Yeah, I'll have to show you. There's this Dead song called it's called FMFY or something like that. It's like the whole chorus it's like, because you know how like new metal bands, it's all about like getting the crowd to scream the chorus along with you kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
So the chorus is fuck me and fuck you too. And it's
dude,
like this huge ass, like it's cheesy. It's not like it's not the kind of band that I would give to someone and be like, this is what really good music is. It's just like really fucking tasty. Like, it's just like it's not
sometimes that's all you need.
It's not quite junk food. Like there are some nutrients in there, but for the most part it's just like real tasty kind of jams.
Dude, that's a very good explanation. Yeah, because like when I listen to like heavier stuff, it's like I'm so picky with like heavy music, and because of the whole like surgence of the beatdown stuff that came out, and then like I used to be an emo kid, like everybody born after from 94 to 98 had an emo phase.
Yeah,
it's just a fact.
Yeah.
And after the emo phase, like there was like two bands that really stuck with me, which was like the Agony Scene and Greeley Estates. Like I really liked Greeley Estates, and I still listen to them even though they are extremely scene bopper metal. But like all like it's just like I'm so picky with breakdowns, and I'm so picky with like guitar solos and everything. So like to listen to like music, like heavy music these days, I found this band. Well, I played with this band at a or it's So What Fest now, in Dallas, and they're called Exalt.
Okay.
And they're, oh man, I don't even know really how to explain them, but they're really, really heavy, but in like a sludgy way, but then they like pick it up, and then they got like some singing that's really tasteful. And I found them, and I like talked to them at the show. This is a few years ago at So What, but they were telling me, like, I was like, yeah, dude, like, what are you guys influenced by? Because I was like, this is like, it's not like intricate, but it's something completely different to me. And I loved it. Like, being picky and just like walking across the street, and finding this band, I thought it was incredible. And they were telling me like, oh yeah, we like Bathory and Bad Brains, and I was just like, really? I was like, that doesn't really like stick out. Like, I was like, they're like, well, yeah, like we just take that and we mix it with stuff like really, really heavy stuff, and I was like blown away by that. And I seriously haven't heard an album since I found that like 4 years ago that sounded like it. Like it wasn't beat down, it wasn't like new metal, but like it was just really awesome music. And it's only three people, or it's one guitarist, but they rip all the guitar, and then the vocalist is just brutal, dude. So fucking brutal. Like it was like on the stage, like kneeling, and he's like doing the lowest growls, but like it wasn't like death metal growls. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I
found them.
Yeah.
Exalt.
Yeah, the it's like the album with like the hand and it's white. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That album rips, dude. Like listen to it front to back, and you will not be disappointed.
Damn. Yeah, I gotta check it out then. I'm really excited. I've been listening to heavier shit lately. Like I've just been, I don't know, I've been on a kick of like, whenever I get into something, I go really hard and I just fall really far down the rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
And I got on this metal kick, and I just went like as niche and as far deep as down as possible. So like the metal kick got started with Amon Amarth. Like I started listening to like some Viking metal shit, and I was like,
dude,
this is fun. And then within 2 weeks, I was listening to black metal, and I was like going fucking deep. So there's been some really cool black metal shit that's been coming out lately that I've been listening to, and when it comes to metal, I really like everyone. There's a different thing about heavy music that everybody likes. Like there's one little thing about it that they like, whether it's the breakdowns or it's the vocals or it's the guitar solos, whatever it is, everyone has that thing.
Yeah.
And with me, I really like when metal music creates almost like a meditative atmosphere, which is what's really cool about black metal is it's very kind of meditative, kind of like battering.
Oh, dude, yeah. Do you have you ever heard of the band Outlier from the Bay Area? Okay,
I've heard the name before for sure, but I don't know what their music sounds like.
There is a lot of bands called Outlier.
Okay, well, that's why.
yeah. I've like just in the past week, I've seen like a few other bands called Outlier, but these guys, they're from the Bay Area in California, and they're, I don't know. People have told me that they sound scram metal, but I don't even really
know what that means.
Yeah, me neither. I was like, I don't know what scram is. It's like, to me, it's swooning black metal. Like it's really, really black, and it's really, really heavy, but they have like these really pretty minor chord parts. And the last album that came out was by far my favorite, and I think it's one of the greatest albums released in the past 10 years. Like, not even joking. Like, these guys are not very well known, especially when it comes to like PR representatives and marketing and stuff. You know, like they're just as big as any other DIY touring band. But the album, Through a Set of Rose-Shaded Eyes, that album it's beautiful, dude. Like they have blast beats that like it's like an Oathbreaker feel. You know that band?
Yeah.
So Oathbreaker like kind of vibes, but like super, just like it's so tasty. You know, like it's just very, very catchy, but it's black metal. Like it's just beautiful, dude. I listened to that album a few times.
I'll
like
check it out.
I
found it.
Yeah. No, it's those guys deserve so much recognition. When that album came out, I told myself, if these guys don't get signed and represented within the next 6 months, I was like, I have no hope for the scene anymore, dude. I was like, dude, like this album is too good. The dudes, they stayed at my house when my old band Victim Culture played with them in Fort Collins, and we partied after the show, and they're just like really sweet dudes. And they're extremely dedicated to what they do, and they're extremely good at what they do.
Now, Victim Culture, like that album that you guys released last year, was on my like top 10 favorite albums of the year. Like,
really?
Yeah,
Thanks,
it was. But I'm an idiot, and I tagged the wrong Victim Culture.
Oh no!
So you guys never saw it. But yeah. Just like 6 months later, they had apparently checked their Facebook and like commented like wrong Victim Culture, and I was like, God damn it! But yeah, no, I put you guys like I don't remember what number it was, but that thing tore my fucking life apart. It was so good. God
Thanks,
damn.
Man.
That's why when I came over to your place, I was like, "Are you guys playing this? Are you guys playing this?"
Yeah,
like, I fucking love those songs, man. That EP is EP, right?
Yeah,
it's like a long EP.
Yeah, well, it's 8 songs, but it's only like 16 and a half minutes.
Yeah,
like we kept that like DC punk vibe with it, and we kind of mixed that with a few of like newer age, like the Gallows were like a huge influence for us writing that record, and that whole project, all of Victim Culture was like we didn't give a fuck about anything but having fun, you know, like we wrote music to have fun. We went into our friend's studio to record. We had fun there, and we went on one tour with Plasma Canvas and
through Texas, right?
Yeah, we had a very interesting tour in Texas, and it, you know, is like everything that we did, like compared to like what I did in Head Injuries, where it was extremely serious, and like, you know, we like always had to watch ourselves, and you know, we went on 3-month-long tours, like you know, it was brutal a lot of the time, like because of how much dedication it takes to, you know, go for it. But Victim Culture, we weren't going for nothing. You know, we were like, yo, let's play some punk rock. Let's go on tour. Let's record an album. I was like, you know, we were just having a lot of fun, and every moment in that band was like one of the greatest moments of my life. It was a lot of fun.
Well, some of the greatest moments of my life were listening to that fucking Telecaster.
Oh,
like,
dude, yeah.
You're like, that is one of the most centric kind of heavy albums I've ever heard. Like, you can just hear it.
Oh,
it's
dude.
Like twanging, especially like that in Hostel when it's like, I was like, fuck, that is so hard. Like, that Telecaster is so bright.
Oh yeah, I bought it for like $350. It's like it's a Mexican body from 1985, and then it's an 87 Japanese neck. Somebody just like Frankenstein like these vintage parts together, sold it, and then I found it at a music around in Fort Collins. And I traded a couple of Guitar Center gift cards and then like $50 for it.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, and then like it's like I really wanted that sound though. I wanted that country twang, but like on like a really heavy record, like kind of like how the Gallows did on Orchestra of Wolves. Like it's just like this really really bright British sound, but I wanted it to be like really twangy and like like really hot. So it has a hot rod pickup in it, and like it just made the album sound completely different from like any other like punk record from what we were doing. And I was not disappointed. And when I play live, I make it as bright and like annoying as possible, And people tell me like, your guitar sounds like it's extremely pissed off. I'm like, because it is. It really is.
Yeah, dude, the sound that I don't know if you were doing it through the same setup back then, but when I was hanging out at your house and I heard you practicing, the sound was amazing. It's because here's the thing, when it comes to being bright and it comes to tellies for sure, it's really easy for it to not have enough low end, and it's really easy for it to just pierce. And that was not piercing; it was full bodied.
Oh yeah, so I'm not like really like a gearhead kind of guy,
I'm not either.
If it works, it works. I like for Victim Culture, like all that stuff that like my cab's actually extremely old and has a blown speaker in it. But the head and the guitar, both, I bought those because they were cheap and they were kind of what I wanted. And then like when I started messing with it and like, pairing things together for it, I was actually blown away that I could get a low end out of a Telecaster because it's a PV XXX. It's like the Walmart version of a triple rectifier, and it only cost me like $300. And so, but it had like all the stuff that I wanted, and I think my whole rig cost about $500, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's
That's
like
awesome.
Yeah, I just got really lucky.
It was one of those. Staying at your place was like, it was such a. There was a rock star moment that happened with you. It was so Sam and I are hanging out, and Sam is great. Shout out to Sore Ice. He's been on the show a bunch. Sam is still very starry-eyed about like other musicians and hanging out with bands because he's like 19 or 20 or something like that, and he's very 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 excited about everything. He's not jaded at all.
Yeah.
So which is why it's so much fun to hang out with him, because it's so like it's rejuvenating, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm hanging out with Sam, and so it's like morning-ish. Like we had just woken up like 11 or 12 or so, and we see you get up or whatever, go into the kitchen, pour yourself some whiskey, and then you just went out to the garage and started fucking jamming. and
sounds about right.
It's like went out and started ripping. It's like 11 a.m. or something like that. Me and Sam are like, what a fucking hero, dude. That's what a badass.
Yeah, man. Whiskey and punk rock, man. That's all that matters, right?
It was so fucking, we were just like, man, what a guy.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, whiskey is very important to me. I think it's extremely important to the writing process. Like, I'll be completely honest. I don't think I've like had like a legitimate writing session without whiskey since I was like 17. Like, it's not like I like pour a glass of whiskey and 5 minutes later I'm already like 6 glasses down. It's like I just like sip it through recording, and with like this newer Zack Michael stuff that I'm doing, a lot of the time is I'll track in a rhythm acoustic track, have a glass of whiskey. Then the next, like the lead track, I'll have a glass of whiskey. And by the time I get to the lyrics, you can like if you heard some of the demos I have, I slur everything. That's when I start getting drunk, is when I'm spending too much time on a demo.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I love listening back to them because like the words are wrong and like, but for some reason I thought that was okay to like bounce the file and put it in my demos file, and I just like listen to it at work when I'm driving around, and like I'm like listening to it at work and I'm just like, I hear like a part, I'm just like, what the fuck did that just say? I was like, this was just last night. Like, what the fuck? Like, but that's when I know that I need to stop. Like, I need to like call it a night from tracking is when like I start just literally making up words on my demos.
Well, it's like that saying, right? It's write drunk and edit sober.
Yeah.
One of those things.
Dude, I live by that 100%. Although, you know, I'll still drink when I'm editing. I don't have like a drinking problem. It's just I love whiskey, like good whiskey. Yeah. And everyone gives me shit about drinking Wild Turkey 101. I don't get it though, because like they like for a bottle of whiskey that's $25, you know what I'm saying? Like $25 for a whiskey that doesn't taste like rubbing alcohol or just water. Like it is it's like a no-brainer. But then people like are like, oh, why don't you just like drink Jameson? I'm just like, well, it's not really like my type of whiskey.
It's a totally different type of.
You're going from an Irish whiskey to a bourbon, and I'm like, come on, man. Like no, like when I went out to Scotland, I was tasting whiskeys from like the Isles, and like, you know, like I was like learning about it, and you know, like that was extremely important to my drinking because, you know, I brought that back here and people are like, oh, why do you drink Wild Turkey? And because what I realized out in Scotland is that what really matters is your personal preference and the taste of whiskey, and that if somebody has something to say about it, you tell them to go fuck themselves, because the Scottish don't give a fuck what you think, dude. Like like I had this one whiskey and I like gave it back and I was like, I don't know, man, this one's too bitter. Like I don't really like it. And he like pushes it back towards me and he's like, you're gonna drink it and you're gonna like it. And I was like, all right, fuck. He's like, you already paid for it. He's like, I'm just gonna throw it out if you don't drink it. I was like, well, and he's like, you better not waste any whiskey. So I drink all the Wild Turkey, and you know, Connor from Victim Culture actually long time ago turned me on to Wild Turkey compared to like Jack Daniels or anything like that. And like I said, dude, it's a good cheap whiskey.
Jack Daniels has a great taste though. I like it's very leathery.
You see, Jack Daniels is not bad, but it's a little expensive compared to what I want to spend on it, you know? And like Jack is really good, and I'll drink Maker's Mark, but I think Maker's Mark is way too expensive for how weak it is. It's like 39 or 40% alcohol, and
it's
like
delicious though.
Just see like, and like that's like I would mix I'll do like a whiskey sour or something with the Maker's Mark, but like with like a good whiskey, you just drink that shit straight, you know.
Totally
just neat, you know.
Did I ever tell you my story about discovering country music?
No, and I am excited to hear this.
All right. So I started dabbling in country music, specifically. So Amigo the Devil, who we were talking about earlier, does this insanely soul-shattering cover of I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. But instead of playing it, I'm really bad with keys, but I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry is all like C, G.
Okay.
And his version is all A minor and E.
Ooh,
and like A minor and D minor.
So it like kind of makes it a little darker sounding?
Way darker sounding.
Oh, yeah.
And he sang it live, and I paid attention to the lyrics, and he was like, no one talks about how dark country music is. No one talks about how terribly dark and sad it is, and I think that's terrible. So he plays the song, and I really paid attention to the lyrics, and the lyrics in that song are fucking brutally like dark and well written. And so I started dabbling a little bit. I started playing with some George Jones. I started playing with some Tammy Wynette, and even like what's her fucking name from the 50s and 60s, Loretta Lynn, and some stuff like that. Just kind of getting my feet wet. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. And then one night, Alicia and I were drinking Jameson, and she had mixed it with something. She had like Jameson and ginger ale, and she like passed out, like not passed out because she was so fucked up. She just ended up falling asleep. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm up. Like I'm sure the same way. Once I get a few drinks in me, I'm all amped. I'm energetic. I'm like ready to do whatever.
Oh, exactly.
So I have this. I have a bottle. I think it was like just one of the 16s, like not that big. And I had like half of it left, and I just sipped on it just from the bottle.
There you go.
I'm just like hanging out in my living room, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put on some country music, and I put on I put on George Jones, And it was in that moment, halfway through a bottle of Jameson, that I was like, "Oh, I fucking get it now."
Yeah.
Like, like you have to be alone and drinking whiskey to really understand country music.
No, that's like that, right? Like how you're saying, like the lyrics, like old country.
Yeah.
I think, like one of the, like the first country artists, like I actually like started getting into, besides like Willie Nelson or Johnny Cash, was Marty Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
And I just loved it so much because he told the perfect stories. Like it was such good, like the lyrics were just so perfect. It was like you were reading a book with like this beautiful music behind it. And, like all of his songs are about really messed up shit, like it's Big Iron's about, like a dude coming into town, like looking for a bounty, and then, like it's like
Marty Robbins is the guy that does a lot of gunslinger songs.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Okay. All gunslinger. It's he does a song about Billy the Kid, and like it's just like I started like listening to that, and then I got on to Hank Williams, and like when I started listening to like Hank Williams Sr., I was just like blown away about how like that these songs lasted through all these years, but these are still some of the best songs I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. Like I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry is not only like the catchiest thing, but like like you were saying, like the lyrics, like it was like that time in music, like that was like what people did with music, is like it was a way for them to express like the hardships of life, like when like the blues started, or like when jazz came up and all that stuff. Like these were like, that's what was important to people, was like to express like the like tragedies and stuff. Like that's what music did. And then love songs started happening, and then that just became way more important, I guess.
Well,
but
that even goes back. I'm a really big folk geek. And that goes all the way back to fucking Woody Guthrie in the Dust Bowl era in the 30s, in the Great Depression. Like all of his songs, like he has a couple like goofy songs, but for the most part, like there's like 3 albums on the market that are like Dust Bowl ballads, volume 1, 2, and 3, and they're all just like these sad ass songs about getting fucking pneumonia from like, breathing in the dust and shit. It's like it's so good, and I love that shit. Hank Williams. So I'm really lucky. I have I'm a vinyl guy, and I have a Hank. It's the only Hank Williams vinyl I own, but it's called Blue, and it's only sad songs. That's it, front to back. Every sad song, like it opens up with like Low Down Blues, and it has like all these fucking sad songs on it. And
that's a dangerous record to listen to by yourself. You don't know where you end up after that.
Yeah, right. But it's so good, and like George Jones is another one of those guys where that voice, every single time I hear it, like I just want to be in a dimly lit room with with like alcohol. Like he even later into his life, like he had like the early stuff, but later in his life in like the 70s or early 80s, he has this song called "If Drinking Don't Kill Me, Her Memory Will." And oh my god, it's such a good song. It's just this song about how like it's what I think the opening line is like, it's 3 a.m. and he's like in his car and he's drunk as fuck, and he's just talking about how all the neighbors like, he fell asleep on the horn like on the car, and he's like, all the neighbors know that I'm drinking and whatever. And he's like, and the whole chorus is like, if drinking don't kill me, her memory will. And he says something about how, I don't know, it's great. It just, it's the whole song is just, I love shit like that. I love Tear in Your Beer Country. Like even Lucero is pretty fucking cool too, if you haven't gotten into Lucero.
I don't think I have.
Lucero's they've been around since like the 90s. Okay. They're like they've been referred to as country punk. Oh. But it's like it's country punk, but it's like when I saw them live, they opened for Frank Turner, and they did a song so he said like, he refers to his music as sad bastard drink yourself to death music.
Oh my god, that's what people love though.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
Like people want to hear stuff that they can relate to, and like old, like even like the old country. We're talking like 40s, 50s, like Charlie Monroe. Charlie Monroe. Uh-uh. So he's extremely old school. Like I can't remember if this is like pre Hank Williams or post Hank Williams, but he's got a song.
What's his name?
Charlie Monroe.
Charlie Monroe.
Yeah, he has a song called "Down on the Willow Garden," and it's a song that I cover for the Zack Michael sets occasionally. But I do a version of it that was the Everly Brothers covered it on their album "Songs Our Daddy Taught Us."
Oh, cool.
and it is the darkest, most fucked up song I think ever wrote before like people start like before before people started writing about like metal like songs like getting like fucking killing people and
so
shit.
This was these guys were around in the 30s, so this was pre Hank Williams.
This is the 30s. Okay,
Yeah,
so I didn't know it was
30s.
that old.
Yeah.
But so Charlie Monroe, this song "Down the Willow Gardens" about a kid who meets up with his girlfriend, poisons her, slays her with a sword, throws her body in a river, and then goes back to his dad and tells him that he killed his girlfriend because his dad is the one that wanted him to kill his girlfriend. And there's no explanation to this. It's just this is just a song about murder. And then the dad says he's gonna pay for his son to get out of jail, but they don't send him to jail. They fucking hang his son, and his dad like cries about it, and that's how the fucking song ends. That was like country back then. And fuck, dude. Like I think the only Charlie Monroe recording is a live recording, and it's really, really good.
Yeah, I found it. It's on Spotify actually. The Star Day recording.
Yeah, because that's on. I use Apple Music, so it was on there too. If you want to check that song out, listen to the Charlie Monroe one. It's like faster and it's like upbeat. Like it's like this happy sounding song, but like it's about literally slaying a little girl. And then the Everly Brothers cover of it is actually it's just one guitar and then the two brothers with their trademark harmonies on it. Like it is the Everly Brothers one is beautiful, and that's the reason I wanted to cover that song and I cover it the way that the other Everly Brothers did it, because the way it sounds matches the lyrics instead of this uppity song about killing a girl.
That's kind of how I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry is too, though. Like
it's like pretty.
The music of it is pretty upbeat in comparison. That's why I like Amigos cover. It's just like all in A minor, and it sounds so fucking dark.
Exactly.
But it was different back then. Music was written differently back then. It wasn't the same. Like it's very you see that kind of shit all the time. Like music, folk and country music from the 60s, from the 40s and 50s. A lot of it is way more upbeat than the lyrics. I guess that's just how they wrote songs back then. It was
different. The catchy thing, Yeah. It was like it really was way more appealing to like sing these songs in like the major chords. Mm-hmm. But like they it was about being relatable, and back then it's like when the longest anybody could live was like 50 fucking years, this shit was hard with the depression and the wars, and people wanted to know that they weren't alone in like these situations, but they still wanted something they could sing along to instead of crying in their room alone, So
murder ballads, dude. I fucking love murder ballads.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
That's what it is.
It's beautiful, and actually, if you really want to hear like good stuff like that, like really good storytelling songs, is that album from Everly Brothers. The songs are Daddy Taught Us. Like it's a bunch of like, it's kind of like old school lullabies, to be honest. Like there's a song called Barbara Allen.
Oh, I know that song.
You know that one?
Yeah, not from them. That's Barbara Allen. I know because Frank Turner covers it at one time. It's an old
way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He does it live. It's like because Barbara Allen is like an old. I think it's an old like English song.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because he tells this story before he plays it, where he's like, I recently started getting into like English folk music and kind of the origins of the music from where I come from, because he's obviously from Britain,
right?
And that was so he plays that song, just him with his acoustic guitar, and it sounds so fucking good. Yeah, just like the whole thing about the story of the grave and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's so fucking good.
Dude, that is so fucking crazy. Like I thought, like, because whenever I talk about that story to somebody, or the Everly Brothers version of it, people think that I'm just crazy and that I'm making shit up, like, because it's like kind of like it's like this really strange, like, like. And I don't even fully understand the story from like what the Everly Brothers, like how they sing it. It's like it's really confusing, because like the story of the way they sing it is like kind of out of step. It doesn't really follow like you would read a book. It's kind of strange, but it's like a beautiful story, and the way they sing it is fucking gorgeous. And I seriously thought that was the only, like, I couldn't, because you look it up on Spotify or iTunes or nothing, like, I could only find Everly Brothers' cover of it, like, and I can't even see it's a cover, it's like their version, because it wasn't ever, like, tracked. It's, like you said, like a folk song.
Yeah, if you look up Barbara Allen, there are some, like, Joan Baez has a cover of it as well. But yeah, he does it live on his. He has a live album called Live at Shepherd's Bush Empire, and he plays it like in the middle of the set.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's super. Because I was gonna say, I was like, yeah, I've heard that song. Because we'll just have like all of his shit on our Spotify, and we'll just hit shuffle, and every once in a while that song will come on, and it's awesome. Like he is like our guy. Like Frank Turner is like our dude, man. Like,
yeah,
we've all got like, this is a tattoo of his. Like I have another tattoo of his on my back.
Dude, no, he's the shit, man. Like I've honestly never like put him on like the stereo and like sat down and listened to him, and like it's something that I always needed to do.
Yeah. Especially being such a wanderlusty guy and loving traveling and loving rock and roll and loving punk music the way you do, like, and loving like acoustic stuff and country shit. Like that's his bread and butter, man.
Oh yeah,
or he used to be. He's a little bit more pop rock now, but first few albums are super like folk rock, country punk.
I really need to get into that. That kind of reminds me of Jake Bugg.
Yeah.
So I found Jake Bugg because he did play Chicago Riot Fest a few years ago, and I just remember that was the year that Motorhead was supposed to play. So I was doing anything and everything to go see Motorhead because I knew that Lemmy was sick, and I was like, okay, well this is gonna be
this
like,
is it.
Yeah, it's do or die now. So I bought my ticket, and as I was looking through, I saw like it was Jake Bugg, and I was like, okay, well who the hell is this? And I checked it out, and I heard that song "Simple as This," and I was like, well, it's very poppy, but it's so fucking catchy, and he sings it so well. And so that's when I started going through his discography, and that's when like I found out this dude does like blues, like really good blues. And I was just blown away that he could do songs like Simple Like This and then like turn around and do like these like really old school blues songs and these really good like use of his like kind of like a country like vibe of it.
Yeah.
And just a little English dude.
Yeah, I only know Lightning Bolt. That's the only song of his that I know, which is kind of like I think that's like one of his that's one of his like really big ones.
Yeah, that's off of the Gatorade commercials.
Oh, it's in the Gatorade commercials?
Yeah, they're in Gatorade commercials. See, I didn't, and then like when I checked him out and I heard that song, I was like, okay, well I've heard this song like before, but like it kind of like reminded me like Johnny Thunder, and I was like, okay, well I thought that's who it was, so I never checked out Jake Bugg because obviously that song is incredible. Like it's so simple, but he has like really, really good singer-songwriter stuff. And I just remember when I was looking at him, Frank Turner was on like the recommendations, and man, I just don't remember. I just like wasn't feeling it anymore. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go switch to something else.
It's easy to. He has so much material, and it's so all over the map that it's kind of like. Well, and I've done this multiple times, and I'll do this for you. Do you use Spotify or just Apple Music?
Like personally,
yeah.
Like, well, I just have Apple Music. You know, I pay $10 for it, so you know.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna hook you up. I'm gonna give you like a playlist. I'm gonna hook you up with like a Spotify playlist for Frank Turner. Shit. Then, yeah, you can still listen. I think if I give you a playlist, you can still listen to it for free. You just get ads and it's on shuffle.
That's fine. I can listen to a few ads.
I think that's how it works. So yeah. Anyway, I'll hook you up because he's one of those guys, like I know his whole discography really extensively, and there's certain things that people should hear first, and then within the context of what you already heard, you can dive deeper and kind of have a better perspective on everything else.
Yeah, definitely.
That's how anybody is with huge amounts of material. You have to kind of shepherd somebody into where they should start because there's so much shit.
That's like showing somebody brand new, but showing them like Deja Entendu first, and then showing them Daisy like right after. Like you can't even tell it's like the same band if you don't know who they are.
So the thing is with brand new, I never got into them, and the only album I ever heard was the Deja Entendu.
Yeah. Well, see, like, I'm not like a huge brand new fan myself. Like their first, or like their first like biggest, like their first big record, Your Favorite Weapon. That was like a pop punk album. Like that was coming up with like Bleed America and Enema of the State and stuff, and so. That was kind of like on the loop for all of us, and then they came out with, I think Deja Entendu was next, and then it turned into like this emo like project, and like that's when all my friends and I like dropped off the map, and then then they got the craziest cult following. Yeah. So we returned back to it, and then I like started appreciating it, and then like this last couple of years, I kind of fell off the map with them again, but they do it in a very awesome way, like kind of how you're saying with Frank Turner, how it's like. just so much different kinds of genres, but the same band. Like Daisy's like this really, really heavy, like kind of it's really dark for the band. And Your Favorite Weapons, like talking about girls and like parties and stuff. I mean, like more they were still kind of like that Get Up Kids kind of like indie pop punk vibe, but and then like they came out with what was the last album called? Like I said, I don't really follow.
The most recent one?
The most recent
Science fiction?
Science fiction. I was going to say Pulp Fiction. I was like, that's right. That one, it's extremely experimental, like coming from somebody who's listened to the band a lot. Like, and this is an experimental band, and then the last album was just so experimental. I was just like, I just couldn't really keep up with it, so I kind of lost interest. But like, I thought that was such a cool idea that every album they did was completely different from the last one, and that's something that I want to do sometime in the future. But
what are you doing right now? What's your gig right now?
Okay, so now I took like the remnants of Victim Culture, since Victim Culture had to break up because the bassist Connor Hampton, he is an incredible bassist, awesome vocalist also, and just like he was like my best friend, and then he had to move down to Texas because Colorado just got too damn expensive for him. It's it's tooth and nail out there, and if you're not working like 12 hours a day, you're not paying rent. It sucks. But so he moved back to Texas to get a good job and like start working on himself, and then and he was like the primary songwriter with me. Like like we lived together, and like when we got home from work, we'd just start writing. And so without that, I was like, okay, well, that's going to completely change the whole dynamic of Victim Culture, because he's like, just replace me and keep going. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to do that. So I put a nail in the coffin for Victim Culture, and then me and two other friends of mine, Jay and Alan, started another 3-piece punk band called Copper Teeth. And Copper Teeth is like, Minor Threat mixed with Metallica, and we like to do a few blues riffs in there as well. It's just really intense, really thrashy kind of stuff. It's just same atmosphere as Victim Culture. We want to have fun, we want to play shows, we want to tour, we want to record, but it's all about just taking it easy and doing what we want to do, and that's a lot of fun. And then I've just recently started doing this Zack Michael project, and this is a collection of songs that are extremely old. Some songs that were pre-Head Injuries era. Some songs I wrote just a few days ago. And it's really fun for me because it's like I'm like reviving these old songs and then like reviving old parts that I had. Like I go through like these notebooks that I've kept all these years, and I like pick out lyrics from them and like use those. Like it's kind of like a full circle project. Cool. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Dude, that's awesome. So are you currently recording?
Yeah, so I'm actually I've been in and out of my friend's studio. He's been way cool as a producer. Like this is a dude I used to work with at Guitar Center, so he's got all the gear and he knows what he's doing, and he's got a ton of instruments, like as far as like the little percussion. He's got a baritone guitar that I've been putting on it, like Marty Robbins style. Yeah. But I've been in and out of that studio for over a month now. Like just every day after work, I'd go in for a few hours and like we'd knock a few tracks out. And it's getting to the point now where I think I just have to do like percussion, which I can do percussion. I'm not like the greatest at it though. So I've been having some friends come in from all over the city, like come in and like I had a lap steel guitarist come in and do lap steel on a song, and I had a dude come in and do a trumpet part. I have a guest vocalist she's really fucking good at singing.
Damn, so you're really just making it a full production.
Dude, yeah, it's really like the coolest part about this album is it's like a community album from like everybody in Fort Collins, which is really fun for me because like I wouldn't imagine doing these kinds of things. Like the slap steel part that I got from this guy is like, it was so good that I honestly was thinking about just not doing vocals on it because it's like the lap steel is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
That I was like, I don't know if I think the lyrics might ruin it. Like, yeah. And I was like, but then I kind of was like, well, the lyrics are extremely important to like what the song's about. So I got to keep them. But yeah, it's like some of the musicians I have that come and help me out. Like and this is all my like producer's like idea, like because his name's Paul Rogers, and he actually used to live in Phoenix for a while, and he had the idea of bringing in some other people and getting some other things done, and I was kind of like I don't really know if I want people like other people manipulating songs that I wrote like all this time, but like after like the first guy came in, I was like, fuck, this is a really cool idea, like this is tight, and it just feels really good to like see. Well, I guess like when you're writing like a solo album kind of like this is like it's awesome to see like what other people see on top of that, like because I wouldn't have ever imagined doing like the lap steel parts that this guy did. Like I don't even know how to play that or like how that even works, but he came in and completely changed how the song sounded, and I was in love with it.
That's amazing, dude.
Yeah, it's
so
sick.
Any ideas on when it's going to be coming out, or when you have a prospective release date?
So I still have vocals to do, and I feel like that's going to be the most like taxing part of it, especially since I've been doing screaming vocals for the past like 2.5 years, and this is going to be the first time I have to do clean vocals in the studio in a very long time. So, but after that, all I have to do is get it mixed and mastered, which Alan from Copper Teeth is going to do. Again, keeping it in the community and stuff. I'm trying to probably release it. What month is it? July. So probably like the middle of August, hopefully.
Oh shit, really? Yeah. That fast?
Oh yeah, I'm like this is, I just want to get it out. I want to show everybody like what I've been working on, and maybe do like a little mini tour, like when you're in a solo project, because you just take your guitar and your car and you just go.
Take fucking Sam. Sam wants to go.
Yeah,
he's a great little fucking songwriter, man. His songs are great.
That would be perfect. Yeah, because driving down here from Colorado, it got real boring real quick, like fucking 14 hours of listening to like music. It's like I almost was like, I'm just gonna turn off the radio, and I turned off the music, and like 5 minutes go by, I'm like, oh my god, this is terrible.
Podcast, dude. That's what I do.
I know, but podcasts take up so much room on my phone, so I can't download them. And when you're out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, where the only living thing you see is like a coyote every 5 miles. It's they just don't have enough service for it. But
I feel ya.
Podcasts that I like to listen to, typically, like I'm a huge history guy. So hardcore history. When Diplomacy Fails is a good one. And then Figures.
Dude, Dan Carlin's awesome.
Oh, dude,
hardcore history is so cool.
Yeah, and dude, I heard that the government asked him to sit in on like a vote for something, and I don't remember the details, and I don't remember if he did it, but I remember him saying something about an offer to go sit in with like congressmen or senators or something like that, and he I'm pretty sure he turned it down, but like, isn't that ridiculous?
That's so crazy. He was on an episode of Joe Rogan, and it was so cool.
I've heard of that too. I still haven't listened to it, but I've heard about that.
It's a good episode, man. I love Rogan, especially when he had Tom DeLonge on.
I didn't know he had Tom on it.
Oh no, you didn't know about this shit?
No, dude.
Dude. Okay. Holy shit. Okay. I totally thought that maybe we already talked about this. So, Tom DeLonge is fucking nuts now.
Yes.
Completely verifiably bonkers.
He's a very strange human being.
He went on Rogan and made the biggest ass out of himself in front of millions of people who saw this thing. It's like a meme now on like the Rogan community. So he went on, and it's very obvious that he's just there to promote his book. And everything that he was saying was like, well, when you read in the book that like it's very like, oh yeah, my website, like it was super, but he would tell these ridiculously fantastic kind of nutty stories about the government, like people from the government, the FBI would meet with me and give me secret information that I couldn't give, but I can't say who they are. I can't say when this was. I can't say where this was.
Yeah.
And so he would tell these ridiculously vague stories that are impossible to fact check because he wouldn't say anybody's names or anything like that. And Rogan the whole time was like looking at him like, what the fuck are you talking? Like there are these hilarious pictures and hilarious GIFs of his face.
His confused stare.
And he would just say shit that was ridiculous. And I had to turn it off. I can only listen to like a half hour of it before I was like, enough.
Yeah.
I can't do this any longer. And he I think he said like there's like a super cut on YouTube of every single time he said I don't want to get into that or I can't get into that.
Oh
or
my
like,
god! Oh my god!
Dude, it was brutal.
Dude, I just kind of fell off the map with all of that because
Yeah.
like I was so dumbfounded about how a pop punk artist who sang about fucking dudes and pirates and dogs went to like a conspirator that thinks that the government works with him to find aliens. Like, okay, so here's a really good story about a Head Injuries tour that we were in, I don't know, somewhere in the Northwest, and we were driving through California, and our drummer, Jeremiah, he wakes up at like 6 in the morning while we're driving through Redding, and he looks at his Twitter, and his Twitter pops up with a Tom DeLonge tweet that said, "Hey, I'm in Redding, California at this Starbucks off of this street. If anybody wants to come say hi before I go Sasquatch hunting."
Going squatching.
And so he reads that, and he looks up the address, and no fucking joke, dude, we were like 15 minutes away from there. Like, it just, out of anywhere in the world, we were from Colorado in California, 15 minutes away from Tom DeLonge, and we didn't give a fuck how crazy he was. We just wanted to go see him. This was a few years ago, too, so like this was like right before he had kind of like exposed how strange he's become. And so we were running red lights, like nothing was stopping us. Like, we were fucking hauling ass to this Starbucks, and we get stuck at a red light in front of a cop, and the Starbucks was like 4 blocks. We could see it, and so we gave a CD to our drummer and kicked him out of the van. We're like, dude, go, like, fucking run, man. Like, don't miss him. And he books it down the street, runs through oncoming traffic, and then he just disappears. And so then we finally found the Starbucks down the street, and we all run in there, panting and everything. And he's just standing there in front of the counter, and he's just like, he's already gone, man. But the chick at the desk was like, she was like, yeah, like Tom DeLonge was here, like no joke, like 30 seconds before this kid ran in here all crazy. And like, man, dude, we were that close. And then apparently he went up to this forest that they had the forest closed in this specific section just so him and a few friends could go Sasquatch hunting. And so we, like, the band wanted to go backtrack and follow him. And I was like, dude, we have a show to play tonight in Redding. Like, we can't just go into the middle of the forest that we can't even get into to find Tom DeLonge who's trying to find Sasquatch. Like, it was like the most ridiculous like scenario that I couldn't make that shit up, dude. It was so fucking funny.
So wild.
But that's just, I mean, it's the strange adventures of tour. Like, you run into Tom DeLonge and shit. Or almost.
Yeah. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the fucking show. Really appreciated it.
Dude, of course. Thank you so much
Thanks
for having
coming
me.
over.
It's been so much fun.
Hopefully you fucking come down to Arizona some more and hang out, dude. I'd love to hang out. Love you to show you around.
Of course.
How long
dude.
are you here?
Well, I'm here for the rest of today and then tomorrow, and I'm probably going to start heading home tomorrow night.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And then I got some little messages coming up for you here at the end of the show. So, yeah. Thank you very much. Get stoked. Patreon supporters, shout-outs to Austin Carson, Every Show Joe, Bradley Palermo, Aubrey Hoffer, my mom and my grandma, Courtney Gallegos, Miguel Lopez, Tom Maxwell, and Bryce Koppel for donating our lights here in the studios. If you want to hit me up on Patreon, gettingstoked.patreon.com, you can find out all the different things that you can get in return and help support the show, help keep it going, and help, this locomotive keep on moving on down the line. So thank you guys so much. Oh, shit, look at that. The episode's over, man. We're done. Episode is finished. Luckily, though, there are plenty of other older episodes hanging around the internet anywhere you'd like to find podcasts. iTunes, podcast apps like Stitcher or Podcast Addict for either the iPhone or the Android. My official Podbean website. I'm fucking everywhere, man. I'm building an empire. Let's take over the fucking world. Anyway, if you've made it this far, I truly appreciate you and encourage you to please reach out and say hello. I'm serious about this, guys. I really want to connect with my listeners. So whether you want to come on the show or not, drop me a line. Hit me an email at gettingstokedpodcast@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think that's it, man. Thank you guys so much for listening. It really, I know I harp on it so much, but it really truly means everything. So thank you. Get stoked.